we are back with part 4 of this week's reading of Genesis chapters 24 to 36 of the Messianic Jewish Family Bible Trio Light Version, TLV. And this is for Monday, February 10th, 2020. So we're at chapter 30. So just a real brief review. Jacob has gone to be with Rebecca's brother Laban. He has worked for him for 7 years, was tricked, actually ended up with the firstborn daughter, Leah, when he really was working what he thought he was working to actually get the hand of Rachel. That did not happen, so he ended up working another 7 years and then was given the woman that he really wanted to marry in the first place, Rachel. So now Adonai has seen that actually, he's got two wives, but he loves one the most. So he is actually allowing Leah to have children. So now she has had Reuben, she's had Simeon, Levi, and she's had Judah. So she has four sons at this point, and Rachel does not have any. So chapter 30, when Rachel saw that she bore no children to Jacob, Rachel was jealous of her sister. So she said to Jacob, "Give me sons. If there are none, I'll die." But Jacob became furious with Rachel and said, "Am I instead of God the one who withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" So she said, "Here's my maidservant Bilhah. Go to her and let her give birth on my knees, so that from her I may also build a family." Then she gave her maidservant Bilhah to him for a wife, and Jacob went to her. Bilhah became pregnant and gave birth to a son for Jacob. So Rachel said, "God has judged my cause and also heard my voice and has given me a son." Therefore she named him Dan. Then Rachel's female servant became pregnant again and gave birth to a second son for Jacob. So Rachel said, "I've surely wrestled greatly with my sister. Also, I've won." So she named him Naphtali. Now Leah saw that she stopped having children, so she took Zilpah, her female servant, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Then Zilpah, Leah's female servant, gave birth to a son for Jacob. Leah said, "How fortunate!" So she named him Gad. Then Zilpah, Leah's female servant, gave birth to a second son for Jacob. Leah said, "How happy am I, for daughters have called me happy." So she named him Asher. Now during the days of the wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field, and he brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But she said to her, "Wasn't it enough that you took my husband away? You'd also take away my son's mandrakes." So Rachel said, "Well, that being so, let him lie with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." So when Jacob came from the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come to me, for I've actually hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he lay with her that very night. Moreover, God heard Leah, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a fifth son for Jacob. And Leah said, "God gave me my reward, because I gave my female servant to my husband." So she named him Issachar. Then Leah became pregnant again and gave birth to a sixth son for Jacob. Leah said, "God has presented me a good gift. This time my husband will honor me, for I've borne 6 sons for him." So she named him Zebulun. Afterwards she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb. Then she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. So she said, "God has taken away my disgrace." She named him Joseph, saying, "May Adonai add another son for me." Jacob outwits Laban. Now, it was after Rachel gave birth to Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away so I can go to my place and to my land. Give me my wives and my children from whom I served you, and let me go. For you yourself know my labor, and that I've served you." But Laban said to him, "If I found favor in your eyes, I've looked for good omens, and Adonai has blessed me because of you." Moreover, he said, "Name your own price, and I'll pay it." Then he said to him, You yourself know I've served you, and how your livestock fared with me, for you had very little before I came, and it has been busting at the seams in abundance. So Adonai blessed you with my every step. So now, when am I myself going to make something for my household also?" Then he said, "What can I pay you?" Jacob said, "You don't need to pay me anything. If you will do this one thing for me, I will shepherd your flock again and watch it. Let me pass through your flock today, removing every colorfully spotted lamb from there, and every dark-colored lamb among the sheep, as well as the colorfully spotted among the goats. And that will be my salary. So tomorrow my honesty will testify on my behalf when you come to check on my salary you agreed to. Everyone that isn't colorfully spotted among the goats or dark-colored among the sheep, with me it is stolen." So Laban said, "All right, may it be according to your word." On that day he removed the colorfully striped and colorfully billy goats, as well as all the colorfully spotted goats, every one with white on it, and every dark-colored one among the lambs, and he put them in the hands of his sons. Then he put a 3 days' journey between them and Jacob, while Jacob was shepherding Laban's remaining flocks. But Jacob took fresh white poplar, almond, and plane tree branches, peeled away white stripped sections on them, exposing the white of the branches. Then he set the branches he had peeled in front of the flocks in the drinking troughs and watering channels where the flocks come to drink. Since they were in the heat when they came to drink, the flocks mated near the branches, and the flocks gave birth to striped, spotted, and colorful ones. Now Jacob separated the lambs and set the faces of the flocks towards the striped ones, as well as all the dark-colored ones among Laban's flocks. Then he set aside the herds for himself and did not put them with Laban's flocks. Whenever the strong flocks mated, Jacob put the branches in the watering troughs before the eyes of the flocks to have them mate near the branches. But when the flocks were sickly, he did not put the branches down, so the sickly ones became Laban's, and the stronger ones became Jacob's. And the man grew exceedingly prosperous and had numerous flocks, along with female and male servant camels and donkeys. So, chapter 31, Jacob secretly leaves Laban. Now Jacob heard the words Laban's sons were saying, "Jacob has taken everything that belongs to our father, and from what belongs to our father he has made all these riches." Then Jacob saw Laban's face, and he noticed that his expression wasn't the same as it was just a day or two before. Then Adonai said to Jacob, "Return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you." So Jacob sent and called for Rachel and Leah to come to the field to his flock. He said to them, "I can see by your father's face that his expression isn't the same as it was just a day or two ago, but the God of my father has been with me. Now you yourselves know that I've served your father with all my strength, yet your father has fooled around with me and has changed my salary 10 times, but God hasn't allowed him to harm me. If he would say, 'The spotted ones will be your salary,' then the flocks would be would give birth to spotted ones. Or if he would say, the striped ones will be your salary, then all the flocks would give birth to striped ones. So God has taken away your father's livestock and has given them to me. Now it happened when the flocks were in heat that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream, behold, the males going up to the flocks were striped, spotted, and speckled. Then the angel of God said to me in a dream, 'Jacob,' and I said, 'Hineni, here am I.' He said, 'Lift up your eyes and see that all the males going up to the flocks are striped, spotted, and speckled, for I have seen everything Laban has done to you. I am the God of Beth El, where you anointed a memorial stone, where you made a vow to me. Get up now and leave this land and return to your land of your relatives.' Then Rachel answered, along with Leah, and they said to him, 'Is there still a portion, an inheritance for us in our father's house? Aren't we considered foreigners to him? For he has sold us and has also completely used us our bridal price. He used up our bridal price. For all the riches that God has taken away from our father is for us and for our children. So now everything God said to you, do it.' Then Jacob got up and put his children, wives, and camels. He drove away all his livestock and all his possessions that he had acquired, the livestock in his possession that he acquired in Padanaram, to go to his father Isaac to the land of Canaan. But while Laban went to shear his flocks, Rachel stole the idols that belonged to her father, while Jacob stole the heart from Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was fleeing. He himself fled with everything that belonged to him, and he got up and crossed the river and set his face toward the hill country of Gilead. So Rachel took idols from her father, which we're going to learn about what happens with that as we proceed. Laban confronts Jacob and makes a covenant. When Laban was told on the third day after Jacob had fled, he took his relatives with him and pursued him a 7 days' journey. Then he overtook him in the hill country of Gilead. But God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream at night and said to him, "Watch yourself, lest you say anything to Jacob, good or bad." So Laban caught up to Jacob. Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, so Laban and his brothers pitched their tents in the hill country of Gilead as well. Then Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done that you have stolen my heart and have driven my daughters away like captives of the sword? Why did you secretly flee away and steal from me? Why didn't you tell me so I could send you away with joy and with songs, with tambourines and with lyres?" That's Lyres. "And you didn't even let me kiss my sons and daughters. Now you've behaved foolishly. It is in the power of my hand to do evil with you, but yesterday the God of your father spoke to me and saying, 'Watch yourself, lest you say anything to Jacob, good or bad.' So now, when you up and left because you really missed your father's house, why did you steal my gods?" In response, Jacob said to Laban, "Because I was afraid, for I thought, suppose you snatch your daughters away from me. Anyone with whom you find your gods shall not live. In front of our relatives, identify whatever is yours that is with me and take it back." Because Jacob said he really, he was saying he didn't take anything that did not belong to him. But Jacob didn't know that Rachel had stolen them. And so he actually put a curse on Rachel, so that anyone that finds these gods that actually Rachel stole shall not live. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and Leah's tent and into the tent of the two maids, but he found nothing. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the idols, put them in the camel's saddlebag, and sat on them. So Laban felt around the entire tent, but did not find them. She said to her father, "Let not my lord be angry that I cannot rise before you, for I am having the way of women." So he searched, but did not find the idols. Then Jacob got angry and argued with Laban. Jacob answered and said to Laban, "What's my crime? What's my sin that you hotly pursued me? For you felt through all of my things. What did you find? Any of your household things? Put them here in front of my relatives and yours, so they can decide between the two of us. These past 20 years I've been with you. Your ewes and female goats have never miscarried, and I've never eaten the rams of your flock. I didn't bring you animals torn by wild beasts. I myself would bear the loss. You would require it from my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. I was consumed by heat during the day, consumed by frost during the night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. This is how it's been for me 20 years in your house. I served you 14 years for your two daughters and 6 years for your flocks, and you changed my salary 10 times. Had I not had the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac, you would have sent me away empty handed now. But God saw my misery and the toil of my hands, and last night he became the judge." In response, Laban said to Jacob, "The daughters are my daughters, and the sons are my sons, and the flocks are my flocks. Everything you see is mine. But what can I do for these my daughters today, or for their sons to whom they've given birth? So now come, let's make a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me." So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar, and Jacob said to his relatives, "Gather stones." So they took the stones and made a pile. Then they ate there on the pile. Laban called it Jegar Sahadutha, and that's spelled Jegar hyphen Sahadutha, and Jacob called it Gal Ed, Gal hyphen Ed. And Laban said, "This pile is a witness between me and you today. That is why its name is Galed, or Mizpah, for he said, 'Let Adonai keep watch between you and me when we are out of one another's sight. If you mistreat my daughters And if you take wives besides my daughters, though no one is with you, look, God is the witness between me and you. Laban said further to Jacob, behold, this pile and this pillar which I've set up between you and me, this pile serves as a witness that I won't pass by this pillar to go to you, and that you won't pass by this pile and this pillar to go to me with evil intent. May the God of Abraham and the gods of Nahor, the gods of your father, judge between us. Jacob also made an oath by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain. He invited his relatives to eat bread. So they ate bread and spent the night on the mountain. And I'm going to pause it right here to come back with the next part. And we're going to talk a little bit about this and then go into chapter 32.